Thank you very much for coming here today. My name is Rainer Pratl. I'm Director of Society Relations from the CFA Institute. I'm normally working in London, but we're doing these tours to different societies to present the program to interested people, interested candidates that would like to join the CFA program. And I would like to give you a quick overview of the CFA program, and later on my colleagues here will kind of tell you what it does to you in the job market and also how to get through it in the preparation and passing exams. The CFA Institute, you can see behind me our mission statement. We want to lead the investment profession by promoting the higher standards, and here is then the important part of ethics, education and professional excellence. You'll hear ethics and education and professional standards quite a few times in my presentation, and we want to do that for the ultimate benefit of society. So not only for the financial industry and the investment industry, but overall for all savers, investors and society overall. The CFA Institute is a global institution. Our headquarters are in Charlottesville in the United States, but we have regional offices in London, in Brussels, in Hong Kong, and now in Mumbai and in Beijing. I'm responsible for the EMEA region, so Europe, Middle East and Africa. We have 40, well actually since a week ago, 41 societies here. Slovenia just became a society. And we're representing about 25,000 members in this area. The part we kind of want to talk about is we're putting a lot of emphasis on educational and investment professionals. So it's not only achieving technical skills, but also the ethical background and professional standards to be a good citizen in the investment profession. As we've seen in recent crises, 2008, 2009, one of the reasons why we ended up in that mess was the professional standards and ethics weren't treated with the respect they should receive. People did act unethically and unprofessionally, and part of that is now the reason why we are in the situation we are in at the moment. We are still kind of struggling with getting out of recession, starting our growth path again, and this time the crisis pretty much started in the financial industry. Just kind of giving some statement from one of our charter holders. This one is a French lady, why she has chosen the CFA program. And the major part is CFA is a globally recognized education program. Irrespective of where you go in the world, you will find CFA charter holders. In a lot of locations you will also find CFA societies, like the CFA Society Switzerland. And the employers, again, they will recognize the CFA on a pretty much global level, wherever you work in the investment industry and also in the wider financial industry. The Times newspaper has called the CFA program a passport, and we like to use that comparison because a passport quite often gives you access to different areas. It kind of opens doors, but again, it is up to you, the individual, to what you make out of the opening door, what you make then in an interview, what you make later on with your career developments and job progression. But the CFA is a very good starting point, a very good door opener on a global scale. Just kind of giving you the global scale. At the moment we have about 128,000 members globally, and we've had 2014, actually now the 2015 figure is even higher, 225,000 candidates. We have since last week 145 societies in 70 countries. You see we are still growing, and as I mentioned before, all this is split in 3 different regions. The Americas, where the CFA Institute started in about 60 years ago, with about 80,000 members there, and about 74,000 candidates. Then we have Europe and the Middle East, where we have about 26,000 members represented in 41 societies, and we have about 45,000 registered candidates. And then we have the Asia-Pacific area, where at the moment we have the smallest number of members, just below 22,000, but the largest amount of registrations, especially in India and China. We have now in total over 92,000 candidates. So it is truly a global organization, global reach, and is globally recognized education program. And not only an education program, later on as a charter holder, becoming member of the CFA Institute and your local society. Overall, quick overview of the different programs we have. The most well-known one is the CFA program, which I will go into more detail later on, and I guess is the main reason you're here. I just want to mention quickly the other programs we offer, which is the CIPM program, which is for investment performance and risk managers, which consists of 2 exams, and you need 2 years of professional experience to become a CIPM holder. And we also offer, for the last 2 years, the Claritas Investment Certificate, which is aimed at people that work with investment professionals, so in the back office, middle office, but they're not the decision makers. So Claritas is pretty much an introduction to the investment industry, so you kind of share the common language, have an understanding what is a bond, what is a share, but without all the calculations you do on the CFA program itself. So just as a quick overview of the other products, but the one I guess you're most interested is the CFA Charter. As I say, we have about 125,000 members, and you find us in more than 150 countries, because in a lot of countries we have charter holders and we have candidates, but we don't have a society yet. So we have societies in about 70 countries, but members and charter holders in about 150. We also worked very closely with regulators, regulatory bodies and lawmakers and capital market authorities. And also in our programs, we are closely working on the academic side with universities, either in preparation for the CFA program for the students, but also some of the universities taking part of the curriculum into their Master in Finance programs and other educational programs. So, some of the reasons what you can do with the CFA Charter. These are just kind of a list of perspectives that the CFA Charter could give you. I mean, overall, if you go through all the 3 levels of exams, you will develop a very comprehensive investment perspective. You won't be immediately an expert in one of these fields, but you will get a very comprehensive overview of all the different instruments, financial markets, portfolio management practices, and the exams are geared towards practice. So they're put together by practitioners, academics, in a mix, and get upgraded on an annual basis. So they always kind of resemble and fit market conditions and the marketplace and ask relevant questions. We are not interested in testing dead knowledge, but something that is relevant for people that work in the investment industry. And if you're working as a portfolio manager and as an analyst, you should find quite a few of these questions answer some of the things you are doing on a day-to-day basis. Others you might not work in, and you might find you have to learn them just for the exam, because on the equity side you might not be that familiar with the fixed income or with some derivatives, etc., etc. You gain a fluency in practical investment analysis and management skills, and especially, which has become more and more important in recent years, you demonstrate commitment to ethics and professional standards. As a candidate in the exam, you're submitting yourself to the ethical standards, and later on as a member, so for instance myself, I have to sign each year with the renewal of my membership an ethical standard and professional conduct statement that I have not done anything unethical or unreasonable, haven't been charged with anything in the past 12 months. So this is a self-policing way and has worked well for the last 60 years. Of course, as I mentioned already before, the program is known globally, so you immediately earn respect with your peers, because whenever you mention something with the CFA and you have done level 1, 2 or 3 or you're a charter holder, people know immediately what you've gone through and also what they can expect from you on the knowledge base and also on professional behavior and ethical standards. You gain quite a lot of flexibility in the work market, but my colleague here will go into that in more detail. And again, you are well sought after by top employers on a global scale. So not only in the Zürich market, but if you go to any other global center, the CFA program is sought after, and CFA charter holders, we've seen some job adverts where it says CFA charter holder recommended, sometimes even requested. One quick figure, or kind of a chart actually, about how we've grown the past few years. The CFA program has been around for more than 60 years, but the biggest growth has set in when it became global and moved out of the States in the mid-90s, moving first to Europe and then later on to Asia Pacific. So you see the number of candidates has literally quadrupled in the last 15, actually now 20 years. So overall, it's a very well-attended program. And here you see one picture of a test center. This is the London one, where this June we had 9,600 people on the 5th of June, Saturday. The exams always take place on Saturdays, just to remind you. But here in Zurich, there were 1,200 people taking the exam on the 5th of June. And there's also a test center in Geneva, and there were 450 people on the 5th of June in the test center. So it's slightly more cozy than this industrial scale picture. Let's go into the program now. So what is the CFA equation? Again, it's a very simple thing. You need just 3 ingredients to become a CFA charter holder. The first one is a prerequisite. You either need to have a bachelor's degree or you're in your last year of your bachelor. Then the middle part, which might be the hard-working one, and we hear more about how to handle that later on, is doing level 1, 2, and 3, these 3 exams. And finally, at the end of the 3 exams, overall you need to prove that you had 4 years of relevant work experience. And with that together, you have then the prerequisites to become a CFA charter holder, where in a nice ceremony, which is again organized by local societies, so here CFA Society Switzerland, the charter will be awarded to you and you'll be a recognized charter holder. But this was kind of just the equation. Let's go a little bit into what you have to do and what is expected from you to achieve the CFA charter. As I already mentioned, there are 3 levels in the exam. Each of these levels represents a 6-hour exam, 3 hours in the morning, 2 hours break, 3 hours in the afternoon. So by that time you might get quite tired and exhausted, but let's go a little bit into the topics for these different exams. In level 1, it's pretty much kind of getting ready, learning about the investment tools. So you see the big green blob, investment tools, which means quantitative methods, economics, financial accounting, financial analysis, and corporate finance. And you'll also see a few of the asset classes, so learning about equities, bonds, derivatives, but that's a smaller part of it. And you see in the blue one, ethics. And you will recognize ethics does not change in size across the 3 levels. So each of these levels has 10 to 15% of the questions and the points on ethics. Once you've picked up on the basic investment tools and you've passed level 1, there's the level 2 exam where then the focus is on the asset classes. So it's the equity investment, fixed income, derivatives, and alternative investments. Again, with a big part of quantitative methods, still using the tools you've learned in level 2, and the ethical part. And then level 3, you see a big shift. The huge yellow square represents portfolio management and wealth planning and wealth management. This is now putting all the different tools, all the different strategies and instruments together to design and put together a portfolio fit for purpose. And fit for purpose means fit for the individual investor, fit for the risk appetite, etc., etc. And of course, the portfolio still needs kind of the different asset classes you're investing in, and ethics still forms a part. Don't believe you don't need any of the investment tools, because there's no green square anymore. You just need to use them on a continuous basis to pass the exam, but it isn't a separate test topic at that level anymore. If we kind of look at how these exams are put together, level 1 is multiple choice. So you'll get 240 questions, 120 questions in the morning, 120 in the afternoon. Pardon? Sorry. All these questions are independent of each other. So the 120 questions, again, you have 180 minutes, so it's 1.5 minutes per question. You can pretty much calculate if you're ahead of time or if you have dropped a few minutes while doing the exam. So I guess one recommendation would be every 30 minutes check how well you've done out of the 120 questions, how many are still open. You might also looking at easier questions ones first. You might look at doing it consecutively. The only one recommendation I would say is do fill in all the answers. We do not deduct points for wrong answers. And each question has 3 choices. So if you don't know it, a good guess might be as good as any other thing. Don't guess on all of them, you won't pass. The overall goal, we don't have a fixed set of percentage of questions asked. It tends to be about the 70% mark, but again, this is adjusted every year according to the level of the exam itself. So there's no fixed pass rate, but it tends to be around the 70% mark. Level 2 is, we call them item sets. So these item sets are little cases, and normally it's about 6 questions related to one of these cases. So you have a short description. Yeah.
The 240 questions, do they all carry the same weightage?
Yes.
Is it just a 1 mark for each question?
Yeah, there's just 1 mark for each question. So you have 120, so no, the marks are 360, yeah. Total marks. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, each question has 1.5 points.
Weightage is 1 mark each for each question.
Yeah.
So it's over 240 questions and 240 marks.
Yeah. There's an equal rating of the questions. In level 2, you have then the item sets, which say are mini cases, and you'll get 10 item sets in the morning session, 10 in the afternoon, and both level 1 and level 2, as they're multiple choice, are graded, machine graded. So even with the item sets, you get multiple choice answers, and please, time management, filling them in. And in level 3, it finally, as it comes to a lot of analysis and synthesis and explanations, we have then constructed responses or essays, but please don't compare these essays with a literary or essay. Bullet points and keywords are what we're looking for. We're not looking for a story that goes on over pages. And again, in the interest of time, be as short and precise as possible. But there you have in the morning, you have the constructed responses, the essays, which are more complex cases at level 3. And the afternoon, you again get the item sets you have already done from level 2, but of course with different topics. And the level 3 is then graded by some graders, actually more than 1,000 graders. So looking at your answers and filling in the points. So this is kind of the 3 levels, but let's quickly also look how much does this all cost. Here is the cost for the December exam, December 2015. As you can see, we start our registration very early. We also teach the time value of money. The later you register, the more expensive it becomes. It's one thing. The other one is it takes time to prepare for these exams. So the average feedback we get from our candidates, and from my own experience too, is you need about 300 hours to prepare for this exam. So 300 hours, if you spread that over 6 months, it's about 50 a month. That's about 1450 in a week. That looks manageable. So that's why if you register early, you also get a good price, you are well prepared, you're on the early adopters. If on the other side you register quite late, September, so 3 months before, 3 months before the exam, and then it takes another month to get ready, and you only have 2 months left, putting 150 hours of learning into 1 month, that's pretty much 40 hours a week. If you're still working, putting 40 hours a week into learning might be a little bit tight. So again, I guess we hear more of that, but the earlier you start, the better it is. From the cost side, you see there's the registration fee is 630, so, and goes up to 1,200. If you register early for all the programs, the total program cost is $2,500, which compared to a lot of other education, so level 1, 2, and 3, plus a one-off enrollment fee, $2,500 is some money, but compared to other education programs is not that expensive. And again, everyone does the same exam, so you have the same standards, whereas if you go to a university, you might find very different levels and very different recognitions of a specific university. You might have heard about Harvard, but the whatever college locally might not have the same name. So on the CFA, every one of you has done the same level, and if you do it at the same time, you've done literally the same exam. Just for the June exam, quickly the dates. So the registration for June exam starts on the 23rd of September, and the latest registration is 16th of March, again 3 months before the exam. We have 2 exam dates. The June exam, which is offered on level 1, 2, and 3. In June, here in Switzerland, you can do it in Zürich or in Geneva. And for level 1, but only for level 1, there's also a December exam. And that one is offered only in Zürich. So if you want to do this December exam, it's here in Zürich. I don't know which location the test center is, but Chris can tell you in detail. Good. Yep.
You said for 2016, the early registration is 23rd September 2015, but this is, for us, if you register for level 1 now, I think this is then for level 2 for us.
Well, if you do your exam in December and you pass the exam, yes, you can then do level 2 in June.
Yes, but at what price? Because then by then we're already in February, because I think the results are at the end of January.
The results are out in January, so yes, you would be on the, you can't be an early register anymore.
Exactly, so we cannot benefit from the lower price.
That is true, yes. If you do start in December, you have one time when you have to be in the higher price class because the early registration has to be finished. Very good math. Again, another statement of how the CFA helped someone in his international career, and especially also that a lot of our CFA charter holders were actually encouraged by their bosses at work to look into the CFA program, and either their bosses have done themselves, or they see the value for the business to have well-educated, knowledgeable people that have done an internationally recognized program. And again, recruitment doors being opened. I've never heard about CFA shutting a door, but hopefully opening as many as possible. Then a quick view at what can you do with the CFA Charter, what are the different roles people and CFA Charter holders are working in. Yeah, there's, as you can see, a wide spread of people, but about a quarter of them work as portfolio managers, another 15–18% are research analysts, but then we also have about 7% that are CEOs, chief executives, and then it spreads to financial analysts, relationship managers, corporate finance analysts, etc. And you also find at the bottom a very broad range of other, because a lot of CFA charter holders might have started out in the investment industry, but then moved into either industry, working at treasury or corporate finance, but for a pharmaceutical company or for a car manufacturer, etc., etc., so they don't fit into the portfolio manager, research analyst categories anymore. So, as we all know, the workplace is quite fluid, and again, I know you should have a good career plan, but quite often you can't predict the next 25 years where you will go and where you will end up. And also our membership data shows the variability of the work experiences. Yeah, just quickly again it's about the competency and acting with integrity, where we put a lot of emphasis in our program. Also, you will realize when you go to our exam, we have very strict policies on what you can take into the test center, when you can start, and especially when you have to stop. And all infringements on these rules are kind of, well, recorded and punished or whatever immediately, because we have very strict rules. If you can't show the integrity while taking the exam, we don't want people with any integrity problems becoming CFA charter holders. So the cheating procedures and checking on cheating is very stringent procedure. Here's a quick view of where our members, the 125,000 on a global basis, are working. Again, as you would expect, there's a large proportion in banks and credit unions, but then investment firms. We have a very strong partner in consulting firms, especially in corporate finance, but also others that goes from KPMG, McKinsey, PwC. Then, of course, international asset management companies, investment banks, and it goes on. And also, about 3% of our members work for the government and regulators. So regulators also need skilled and trained people to regulate the financial industry. Good. I think I'm kind of coming to the end of my introduction of the CFA program. Are there any questions concerning the program, concerning the testing?